What is up, everybody? So Ken Kratz recently gave an interview to the Wisconsin Law Journal. They're at wislawjournal.com. It is linked in the description below if you want to go have a view for yourself. He talks about mistakes that were made during Steven Avery's trial. Let's go over exactly what he talks about. The headline is, Steven Avery prosecutor Ken Kratz admits mistakes were made. Ken Kratz is referring to other people's alleged mistakes leading up to prosecution and ultimately conviction of Steven Avery for the brutal murder of Teresa Halbach. It states Ken Kratz blamed just about everybody but himself. He states there were some mistakes made, but this is common in large cases. He states they would not have changed the outcome of the case in his opinion. Kratz, the former prosecutor, first blamed law enforcement for losing critical evidence. There were a couple of things that never made it to my office that may have been misplaced between Manitowoc and Calumet counties. However, then Kratz said the evidence wasn't even admissible. Nobody has shown how any of that withheld evidence would even be admissible, much less would change the outcome of the trial. Next, Ken Kratz blamed the state crime lab for contaminating Steven Avery's DNA sample with the state's own DNA. Regarding the contaminated control sample, it was clearly a mistake that should never have happened. Sherry Coolhan's own DNA found its way into a control sample, but never did contaminate the evidence tested. He said, noting the crime lab explained how this can happen and the protocols followed as a result. In response, Avery's co-counsel Jerry Buting said the crime lab didn't follow proper protocol. Importantly, the crime lab's own protocol rules required that any test that had a contaminated control sample, like the bullet test did, was to be thrown out and not considered by the analyst. Sherry Coolhan ignored that requirement, filed a form called a deviation form protocol, but made no mention that the bullet test contamination, in her final lab report. The evidence contamination and deviation from form she filed was only discovered by me being Jerry Buting, buried among thousands of papers I demanded the lab to disclose. On cross-examination, Coolhan testified that this was the one and only time she deviated from protocol in her entire career. In brackets, it states 25 to 30 years. So this was the only time she did this in her 25 to 30 year career. Jerry Buting said during an interview with the Wisconsin Law Journal. Ken Kratz also blamed now retired Wisconsin Department of Justice Division of Criminal Investigation Special Agent Thomas Fassbender. During an interview with the Wisconsin Law Journal on Saturday, just a couple of days ago, Steven Avery's original defense attorney, Dean Strang, said he signed a sworn affidavit regarding the matter, which has since been filed by Steven Avery's current defense attorney, Kathleen Zellner. I already signed an affidavit under oath on these issues, which I believe Kathleen Zellner filed publicly. According to a copy of the affidavit obtained by the Wisconsin Law Journal, defense counsel never received the evidence. The state of Wisconsin, through the prosecution team in this case or otherwise, during my tenure as one of Steven Avery's lawyers, never provided to defense counsel for Steven Avery a CD-ROM from Detective Mike Veal of his forensic analysis of a computer from Barb Jonda Dassey brothers' home, Strang wrote in the affidavit. According to Strang's under oath affidavit, defense counsel for Steven Avery would have argued Bobby Dassey is an alternative suspect. We had no inkling what forensic analysis of the computer truly revealed before the trial. That's what Dean Strang said in the affidavit. DVDs containing a copy of the Dassey computer hard drive was provided to both the prosecutor and the defense along with my report, Thomas Fassbender states. Strang then took aim at Kratz in the affidavit. We had instead Mr. Kratz's incorrect claim that there was nothing much of on Brendan's computer. That claim was wrong, Strang said in the affidavit. During an interview with the Wisconsin Law Journal last week, Ken Kratz blamed the Wisconsin Department of Justice Division of Criminal Investigation. Fassbender admitted computer analysis materials from the Dassey family computer remained in his custody before the trial, Ken Kratz noted. Attorney Kathleen Zellner claims that this evidence was crucial to either side is simply made up by her. During an exclusive interview with Fassbender on Monday, 2 days ago, he recalled that he followed proper protocol in submitting a report on the Dassey computer that had been examined by a computer forensic specialist within law enforcement. The report was given to the special prosecutor's office to review. It was then provided to the defense. The one thing that Ken Kratz and Fassbender agree on is that Stephen Avery is guilty. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to see that Stephen Avery is guilty, Fassbender states. The beauty of this case is that it's made on forensic scientific evidence, Fassbender stated. Fassbender also took aim at the conspiracy theories that resulted from the original Netflix series and since have spiraled on social media. Providing a specific example, Thomas Fassbender noted that there was a lot of chatter on social media asking why Halbach's DNA wasn't found in Stephen Avery's bedroom. Ooh, here we go. Fassbender stated his opinion based on the relevant evidence. Stephen Avery cleaned the crap out of the bedroom. He knew exactly what he was doing. Okay, so he cleaned the crap out of the bedroom, but yet left all of his blood in the RAV4. Why wouldn't he have cleaned the crap out of the RAV4 as well? It makes no sense. Why would you clean the crap out of one location but not another? And isn't there things out there that can detect bleach or what other chemicals you would be using to clean the crap, the blood, the sweat, the DNA, the hair? And you're telling me that he's not going to miss one specific spot but left everything in the RAV4? It just makes no sense. Buting said much of the evidence allowed at the time of the original trial should have never been allowed to be admitted. Actually, we argued to the jury, not to the judge, that the test results on the bullet should be discarded. There were no legal grounds for the court to weigh in on that question. The law in Wisconsin back then was wide open admissibility of virtually any expert testimony. The law let all the evidence in and left issues like this up to the untrained jurors to decide whether to give any credence to such evidence. It was ridiculous, and Wisconsin was the only state in the country like this, with no gatekeeping by courts to exclude unreliable evidence, Jerry Buting stated. According to Jerry Buting, about 5 years later, the law changed, and now under the DAU-BERT standard, arguably that testimony and the EDTA test that the FBI created while the trial was underway could have been excluded entirely by the judge from trial. Buting further took aim at law enforcement and the prosecution. This was further evidence of lengths that the prosecution and its witnesses went to in order to convict Stephen Avery. I also discovered a phone message Sherry Calhoun took from Agent Fassbender telling her that he wanted her to use her test to try and put Teresa in Avery's house or garage. This was improper pressure from law enforcement trying to influence the results of forensic testing, Jerry Buting stated. Fassbender disagreed. I am proud of the team of prosecutors and law enforcement that worked on this case. I think they did an excellent job. I stand by the work that law enforcement did in locating the evidence and the prosecution did in putting the case together. As previously reported by the Wisconsin Law Journal, Ken Kratz took issue with the Convicting a Murderer series, which ultimately defended his very own prosecution. Kratz said, I am incredibly disappointed that Convicting a Murderer never even attempted to tell the incredible twists and turns of the trial of Stephen Avery using exclusive documents, stories, and work product I've collected over the past 18 years. It's a weak story and a weak presentation, and for what Transition Studios has by the way of compelling storylines, it's a shame, Ken Kratz stated. During an interview with Convicting a Murderer producer Sean Reck, he defended Convicting a Murderer and reminded Ken Kratz's non-disclosure agreement is in place. Ken Kratz has a non-disclosure agreement with Convicting a Murderer. Interesting. We believe we created the most enlightening and entertaining product. He, Ken Kratz, has a lot more to say about this case, and he is allowed to make his own project. We can't stop that. I am aware of his displeasure of how the story was told. We have a mutual non-disclosure agreement, so I will leave it at that. That's very interesting. Ken Kratz further criticized Brenda Schuler, who tried to help him fact-check his book. Avery. Brenda is a housewife from Kauna, who didn't even know about the case until Making a Murderer, which aired in December 2015. Ken Kratz stated, in response, Schuler told the Wisconsin Law Journal, I plan to honor our mutual non-disparagement agreement and therefore will not comment on Ken Kratz specifically. However, is the housewife he's referring to the retired insurance company executive that he asked to help fact check his book? Man, the relationship between all of these people is wild. As previously reported by the Wisconsin Law Journal, Ken Kratz provided his trial journal to the Wisconsin Law Journal during an exclusive interview regarding the Stephen Avery trial. As recently reported by the Wisconsin Law Journal, on the eve of the Idols of March, Zellner filed papers with the Circuit Court of Manitowoc County in what Ken Kratz described as a bombshell motion. According to court documents obtained by the Wisconsin Law Journal on March 14th, Kathleen Zellner asked the court for a second order to allow Stephen Avery to conduct post-conviction testing for touch DNA evidence in Teresa Halbach's vehicle. Stephen Avery was convicted of murdering Teresa Halbach. According to court documents previously obtained by the Wisconsin Law Journal in January, Kathleen Zellner said her client is requesting a reversal of orders denying post-conviction relief and grant an evidentiary hearing. Reverse the judgments of conviction and orders denying post-conviction relief and remand for a new trial and grant any other relief this court deems appropriate. So that is a very interesting article. It is linked in the description below. Make sure to go give it a click and view for yourself. They have a few links there that go to other pages and other stories they have done, and it's very interesting. But what do you think? I'm very interested in this NDA between Sean Reck, Brenda Schuler, and Ken Kratz. I wonder what exactly happened between these three people that was so bad that they had to sign an NDA. Very, very interesting. What do you think? Let me know. Leave some comments below. I hope you're having a good day, and I will see you again soon.